Hey everybody, what's up? So, question for you today. See this giant parking lot filled with cars behind me? Here's the question. Do you think this parking lot is an example of a legal system that is stacked against you? Okay, what about this bus stop? What about this speed limit sign? Or what about this suburban neighborhood I'm in? So what am I talking about here? Well, I recently came across this super interesting paper by a law professor in the US named Dr. Gregory Shill. The name of the paper tells you a lot. It's called, what is it called? It's called, Does the Law Subsidize Driving? Basically, it's a legal argument about, or a legal examination of all the ways that our legal system subsidizes car drivers, or favors car drivers over other transportation modes. And if you're like me and spent a little bit of time thinking about why it's so difficult for cities to be more accommodating for bikes and even for pedestrians, usually think about things like our suburban growth patterns or the politics of it. So what's unique here, or at least unique to me, is a deeper examination of the legal foundations upon which our sort of car-centric society has been built. Just think of this public road here. This is one of Dr. Shill's arguments. Most of us think of roads as the ultimate in personal freedom, or at least that's how it's been sold to us. But roads are actually heavily subsidized. Most of them are paid for by taxpayers. There is a bit of gas tax in some jurisdictions, but it's a pretty small amount. Most of it is paid for by tax money, which means we've externalized the cost of this road across all of society. Here, I'll read a quote from you from his paper. On 99.7% of lane miles in America, the cost to the driver is zero, and the marginal cost is zero because policymakers socialize the costs across the entire population. But driving is not free. It costs a lot, actually. He puts the cost of subsidized driving in the US at $100 billion a year, or between $1,000 and $1,400 per household per year in the US. And at the same time, Shill argues that the transit system, bus stop, we treat it like a welfare system. So here again, he argues, the law favors driving. Think about this parking lot. On its own, it doesn't seem like much, but Dr. Shill points out, parking lots like this are built on a set of laws that require them. And this applies to both public and private land parking lot. Here's a quote from this paper. The codes that regulate street parking and parking on private property are different. However, they work in tandem to lower the cost of driving. So on public space, roads are public space. We reserve space in this public area for one use only, and that is for the storage of private automobiles, which is kind of bizarre when you think about it. It'd be like building, I don't know, a public park for the storage of, say, private lawnmowers. I don't know, it seems bizarre when you think about it, doesn't it? Okay, and what about speed limits? So what you and I probably see as a safety measure, Shill sees a little bit differently. Everybody knows speed limits are kind of sporadically enforced, right? Most of us probably think of this as just like a result of the system we live in, but Shill sees it a little bit differently. That refusal to enforce speed limits, Shill sees that as another form of compensation. By turning a blind eye to speed limits, Shill sees that as a way of favoring car drivers over other users of the road, therefore a legal subsidy. He points out a lot of other things too, like zoning rules that enforce low-density suburbs like this, which make it really difficult to live without a car. He thinks that the zoning rules that create low-density suburbs like this one are another form of legal subsidy. He has plenty more examples, and it's taken together, it's sort of shocking when you think about it. I had never really considered how much the legal system favors car driving too. And this may sound like an anti-car rant, and maybe the paper is, but that's not really how I took it. I took it as an eye-opener. If you've ever wondered why it seems so hard in North America to get some momentum for improving the plight of cyclists or pedestrians, I've often thought of it as a political decision and that kind of thing too. But this has really opened my eyes to the fact that there's a whole legal system behind this, a whole legal system that's supporting this car culture we have, which makes it a little more understandable why it's so difficult for change to happen. Anyway, for me it was just an eye-opener too, so I suggest, even if you don't agree with all of it, I certainly suggest reading it. I'll put a link down below. Check out the paper and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.